Exchange at 25 Broad, sponsor of this webcast, invites you to visit our remastered model residences. And also sponsored in part by Trump Mortgage.
Good day. I'm Abby Overton, and this is The Real Deal. At the top of the news, JP Morgan Chase will receive over $750 million in rent subsidies when it builds 5 World Trade. Vornado Realty Trust and the related companies are shopping their plans to local officials for the Moynihan Station rebuild. And the city's Housing and Development Corporation announced that it has run out of money for affordable housing. That and more on The Real Deal webcast this week. But first, some highlights from our weekly interview. Changes are afoot on East 85th Street. And on one of the Upper East Side's major thoroughfares, 86th Street, 2 spanking new condo projects by Extel and the related companies are rising, one at Lexington and one at 3rd Avenue. Most recently, the Ascend Group announced it will be building a 21-story condo at 85th Street and 2nd Avenue. Retail in the area is also undergoing a transformation with more national and upscale stores slated for the neighborhood. Real Deal reporter Jen Benepe spoke to Rob Calliner, president of the Ascend Group. Here are some highlights from the interview.
First question, you secured 3 properties on East 85th Street lately for $45.5 million. The area has always been a major corridor of the Upper East Side and heavily trafficked. So why now this interest in building there?
Market-driven. A big, compelling reason why we bought this site was because it was actually had been designed by Securati. We took over the contract from the seller. The other projects are going to have bigger names. Again, ours is a smaller, more boutique-y project. I hear rumors that one of the projects having a Barnes & Noble.
For the full interview, click on the link below. And now for the news. JP Morgan Chase has reached an agreement with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey to take over development of Tower 5 at the World Trade Center site. Chase will pay about $300 million for a long-term lease and the right to build and occupy the planned 42-story skyscraper. In exchange, the company will receive $750 million in rent subsidies over 15 years and other rent, electricity, and tax breaks worth $100 million. Vornado Realty Trust and the related companies are showing elected officials and community groups their plans for the massive Moynihan Station project. The project, which calls for 2 skyscrapers, a new Madison Square Garden, and new train halls to be built around the existing Penn Station, is likely to cost more than $14 billion. The city agency responsible for affordable housing says it has run out of tax-exempt bonds for financing low-cost apartments. The city's Housing Development Corporation funding shortage this year comes as they announced an allocation of $320 million to build or preserve almost 2,300 city apartments. The shortfall will stick unless state or federal officials raise HDC's private activity bond volume cap. Mayor Bloomberg and Council Speaker Quinn announced that an agreement had been reached on the city's fiscal year 2008 budget, which includes a 7% cut in the property tax rate. Jim Stuckey, the president of the Atlantic Yards Development Group for the past 3 years, has resigned. Stuckey will be replaced by Marianne Gilmartin, an executive vice president and director of commercial and residential development for the same company, Forest City Ratner. Stuckey said he was leaving for personal reasons and new challenges. A new high-end jewelry store owned by diamond mogul and real estate developer Lev Lviv is set to open on Madison Avenue this fall. The 2,000-square-foot store at 700 Madison and 62nd Street will be Lviv's second worldwide retail location. The company opened its first store on London's Old Bond Street last year. Lviv will also be subleasing a 3,500-square-foot space next door at 698 Madison Avenue to antiques dealer Kentshire Galleries. Toll Brothers is having a hard time selling units in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, according to information gathered by TheStreet.com. The company has lowered prices by 20% for some units with lackluster views in its Northside Piers complex and appears to be having trouble selling the remaining 11 units at its nearby project, North 8. Extel Development sold the Encore, a 25-story rental building at 301 West 53rd Street, to Westbrook Partners for $165 million. Extel and Westbrook entered into a partnership to buy the building 2 years ago for $131 million. The deal follows Extel's recent sale of 17 East Village walk-up buildings to Westbrook for $97.5 million, and it could point to the end of the 2 investors' partnership. Thank you for joining us for this edition of The Real Deal's webcast. Remember to click on the link below for this week's interview. Please join us next week for the latest real estate news. I'm Abby Overton, and this is The Real Deal.